Hello and thank you for watching this short video. It's a video of empowering your heart to discern when you come under attack, what is happening. Because so many that I've supported over the years on their spiritual journey, they often feel that when the moment they've surrendered their heart, all hell is let loose. And for some reason or another, God seems to be the cause of that, and God is blamed for what is happening. I came across these two short readings, and I want to share them with you. Maybe there's something there, maybe not. Lord, where are you? Is part 1. In Job 30, verse 20, we read, I cry out to you, O God, but you do not answer. Do you feel like God isn't answering your prayers? Job, the patriarch, felt the same way. I cry out to you, O God, but you do not answer. I stand up, but you merely look at me. And when I hoped for good, evil came, and when I looked for light, then came darkness. All of us go through times when it feels like God has moved and left no forwarding address. Interesting. What's he up to? Why doesn't he respond to our prayer? There are some lessons you only learn when God is silent, and we're given a few examples. The first, silence isn't absence. An old proverb says, speech is silver, silence is gold. Sometimes God says to you, be still and know that I am God. And that's Psalm 46, verse 10. You have to be really secure with somebody to just sit quietly with them. Silence takes the emphasis of words off words and builds a level of intimacy where there's no longer necessary. And if you want to be comfortable with God, learn to enter into meditation and silence with God. And the second, silence tests your faith. How much faith is actually involved when somebody's coaching your every step? It's like a parent running alongside a child who's learning to ride a bike. Right now, the child lacks confidence, but they're going to look strange at age 20 if that parent is still trotting along beside them. At some point, God takes his hands off the wheel to see how far you've progressed. And for a while, it can be a wobbly ride. That's when you demonstrate how far you've come and where you're placing your trust. And in part 2 of the reflection, Lord, where are you? We read in Job 35, verse 14, he will bring justice if you will only wait. And the author says this, have you ever tried to sit and watch a seed sprout? You can't, can you? It stays in the ground until the time is right for it to emerge. There's a lesson here. God has planted certain things within you, and you must wait for them to take root and grow. And the unresolved issues of your past can very often undermine this process. Often it takes prayer and counseling to bring these issues to the surface so that you can effectively deal with them. With God, a delay is not a denial. When speaking to Job, his friend Elihu said, it is wrong to say God doesn't listen, to say the Almighty isn't concerned. You say you can't see him, but he will bring justice if only you are willing to wait. What great advice. Charles Trumbull said, God knows when to withhold or grant visible signs of encouragement. It's good when he sends confirmation, but we grow faster when we've trusted him without it. Those who do always receive the greatest visible evidence of God's love. Wow. God answers every prayer. It's just that across some he writes, the time is not right yet. Job asks, how long will this trial last? Why doesn't God answer? Because it takes as long as it takes, and usually feels uncomfortable the whole time. But there's good news. Eventually, your prayers become less about getting answers and more about connecting with God. By letting him work, the first is you begin to realize that he really is with you. And secondly, you develop a deeper level of intimacy with God. And finally, you discover you can trust him for the entire trip. Having been on this monastic journey since a young monk, when I left my family in Dublin in Ireland on June the 6th, 1966, I was 16 years old. And on the 8th of December, 66, I was welcomed as a novice. And in 2 years following that, I was ordained a nursing monk. And I can tell you from my heart, the journey all those years has not been plain sailing. There have been doubts, there have been challenges, there have been many closed doors and many dark nights of the soul where you feel that God has gone on a one-way ticket to Peru and you're left waiting and waiting and waiting. But what I have learned over the last 50 years is that God does speak when the time is right. And when we know how to be still and silent before God. Not always easy, because the mind runs a riot race, and it's sometimes difficult to tame what's going on in our head. We might be surrounded with family problems or family illness, or maybe someone you love is dying. The secret is always to hand everything over to God, to trust, even when you feel that God has abandoned you and that your prayers have never been answered. I felt that 20 years ago when my best friend, Brother Eddie, they would never ever let us stay in the same community together because we caused ructions with laughter. We were like two giddy kippers. But then my dear friend died of cancer, age 42. And it was so painful because he'd so many aspirations of setting up a community of men called the Brothers of Charity. And all his dreams perished. And I missed his death by 10 minutes, having driven like a madman from North Wales, where I was on night duty as a senior nurse and caring for the dying. And I missed his death by 10 minutes. And I was so angry at myself, but it wasn't meant to be. I had a special time preparing his body for burial. And in all the 28 years I'd known him, I'd never ever seen my brother naked till I washed his body for burial and then put him in his habit. And I remember for those following 3 months, I went into a deep spiral of depression. I missed my friend. We'd meet up 6 times a year, and all we would do for a long weekend would be to laugh and laugh and laugh. And of course, drink a bottle of whiskey between us. But sometimes these things happen. And what we have to do is to surrender the pain, the hurt, the disappointment, the challenges to God. Because God knows how we're feeling. But there's been many, many times, as I've just shared, that I felt in the dark night of the soul that my God abandoned me. But I have to be truthful and say, God never abandoned me. It was me who abandoned God. Through wallowing in self-pity, through wallowing in my own nonsense, I couldn't hear God speak to my heart. And that's my honest truth. So if you're going through a test of the moment where you feel, where is God? You've embraced the spiritual journey, and all God seems to be allowing are tests upon tests that's driving you to despair. And I've seen many beautiful monks who've embraced monasticism, that when they hit this dark night of the soul, they can't cope with it. They struggle, and many leave God's service instead of naming blessing and giving it to God and waiting patiently for God to support them. It takes a person of real courage, real strength to live this spiritual life, because you automatically come under attack from an evil source who wants you to give up and cease believing in God. That's the key of the evil one, to get you away from God. Is it worth it? So if you are going through a dark night of the soul, and where you feel that you would be better off not loving God or serving God as a monk, monastic, a nun, a vicar, a rabbi, an imam, seek out the wisdom of a good spiritual counselor and be directed by God's Spirit before you throw the towel in. Because there's an old saying back in Ireland, the sun always shines on the righteous, but like the night we've had here with torrential rain, sun came in the morning. So let us be still and just take a deep breath, and I'll share these lovely words with you. God has no hands but our hands to do his work today. He has no feet but our feet to lead men in his way. He has no tongue but our tongue to tell men how he died. He has no help but our help to bring them to his side. We are the only Bible the careless world will read. We are the sinner's gospel. We are the scoffer's creed. We are the Lord's last message, given in deed and word. But what if the type is crooked? And what if the print is blurred? What if our hands are busy with other work than his? What if our feet are walking to where sin's allurement is? What if our tongues are speaking of things his lips would spurn? How can we hope to help him and hasten his return? Thank you for watching this impromptu video that I was guided a short while ago to do as a means of supporting the children of God who may be going through a tough time today, wondering, where is their God? I pray that the words I've shared with you will resonate. Namaste, Shalom, Inshallah, Pax et Bonum, OmShanti, Solo di Caritas, Salam Alaikum, and may the peace of all that is sacred to you allow you to spend some time in silence and hear the voice of the Beloved. Amen. God bless you. And thank you, all of you, for watching on Facebook. I had hoped nobody would be there, but you are. And hello, Eduardo, Elizabeth, Gregory, Laurie. Hello, Sister Laurie. And our dear Reverend John Chapman. Hello. And bless you, dear brother. And Rita Pullmans. Have a lovely day. God bless you. And thank you for being here.